Snake by D.H. Lawrence. Born in 1885 in a miner's family, D.H. Lawrence spent his formative years in the coal mining town of Eastwood in England. Despite his working-class background, he became one of the greatest figures in 20th century English literature. He was a novelist, story writer, critic, poet, and even a painter. The poem Snake is derived from his actual experience and was composed in 1923 when he and his wife Frida were living in Taormina, Sicily, in 1920 to 1921. A snake came to my water trough on a hot, hot day, and I in pyjamas for the heat to drink there. In the deep, strange, scented shade of the great dark carob tree, I came down the steps with my pitcher, and must stand and wait, for there he was at the trough before me. He reached down from a fissure in the earth wall in the gloom, and trailed his yellow-brown slackness soft belly down over the edge of the stone trough, and rested his throat upon the stone bottom. And where the water had dripped from the tap in a small clearness, he sipped with his straight mouth, softly drank through his straight gums into his slack, long body. Silently, someone was before me at my water trough, and I, like a second comer, waiting. He lifted his head from his drinking, as cattle do, and looked at me vaguely, as drinking cattle do, and flickered his two-forked tongue from his lips, and mused a moment, and stooped and drank a little more. Being earth-brown, earth-golden from the burning bowels of the earth, on the day of Sicilian July, with Etna smoking, the voice of my education said to me, he must be killed. For in Sicily the black snakes are innocent, the gold are venomous. And voices in me said, if you were a man, you would take a stick and break him now, and finish him off. But must I confess how I liked him? How glad I was he had come, like a guest in quiet, to drink at my water trough, and depart peaceful, pacified, and thankless, into the burning bowels of this earth. Was it cowardice that I dared not kill him? Was it perversity that I longed to talk to him? Was it humility to feel so honored? I felt so honored. And yet those voices, if you were not afraid, you would kill him. And truly I was afraid. I was most afraid, but even so, honored still more, that he should seek my hospitality from out the dark door of the secret earth. He drank enough, and lifted his head dreamily, as one who has drunken, and flickered his tongue like a forked knight on the air so black, seeming to lick his lips, and looked around like a god, unseeing into the air, and slowly turned his head, and slowly, very slowly, as if thrice a dream, proceeded to draw his slow length curving round and climb again the broken bank of my wall face. And as he put his head into the dreadful hole, and as he slowly drew up, snake easing his shoulders, and entered farther, a sort of horror, a sort of protest against his withdrawing into that horrid black hole, deliberately going into the blackness and slowly drawing himself after, overcame me. Now his back was turned. I looked round. I put down my pitcher. I picked up a clumsy log and threw it at the water trough with a clatter. I think it did not hit him, but suddenly that part of him that was left behind convulsed in undignified haste, writhed like lightning, and was gone. Into the black hole the earth-lipped fissure in the wall front, at which, in the intense still noon, I stared with fascination, and immediately I regretted it. I thought how paltry, how vulgar, what a mean act. I despised myself and the voices of my accursed human education, and I thought of the albatross, and I wished he would come back, my snake, for he seemed to me again like a king in exile, uncrowned in the underworld, now due to be crowned again. And so I missed my chance with one of the lords of life, and I have something to expiate, a pettiness. Although this poem is a narration of an encounter of a man with the snake and the conflict in his mind whether or not to kill the snake, it also has multiple interpretations. Let's delve a little deeper and understand the poem. In this poem, the poet describes his encounter with a snake who visited his water trough on a hot day to quench his thirst. The hotness of the day is also underlined by the clothing of the poet, who is dressed in pajamas. The water trough was situated in a thicket of carob trees that are native to the Mediterranean region. Due to the intense heat, the poet has brought his pitcher to the same trough to fill water. Since he sees that the snake is at the trough before him, he waits for the snake to finish drinking water. His action to wait for the snake implies that he is aware of basic manners and treats the snake with respect and equality. He then deduces that the snake came to the trough from a dark crack in the nearby earth wall. He imagines that the snake would have slithered slowly over the edge of the stone trough with his yellow-brown soft belly, and then rested his throat on the stone bottom. These lines describe the graceful movements of the snake. Then, he vividly describes how the snake drank the water almost like a human. He says that the snake sipped the water from a small clearance formed by the dripping water. With straight mouth and straight gums, the snake drank water silently into his slack, long body. The word silently emphasizes the slowness with which the snake drank water. The poet reiterates that he was a second comer at the trough and he also must wait for the snake to finish. This behavior also reinforces the fact that he really treats the snake with equality. However, it also has a contradictory tone which implies that the poet is feeling insulted as he has been kept waiting at his own water trough. He keeps observing the snake's movements carefully and also compares the snake's movements to that of cattle. He says that after drinking water, the snake raised his head and looked at him vaguely, just like cattle do. These movements also indicate that the snake was aware of poet's presence. Since he is comparing the snake with cattle, he probably considers the snake harmless. Then, the snake moved and flashed his forked tongue, thought for a moment, and then bent down to drink some more water. While the poet awaits, he continues to observe the snake carefully. The snake is golden brown in color and looks like it has emerged from the center of the earth. The statement, on the day of Sicilian July with Etna smoking reinforces the fact that it is a very hot day. The month of July in Sicily is usually a hot month, and Etna is an active volcano in Sicily that erupts from time to time when the Earth's core gets very hot. However, suddenly another thought dawns on him. The color of snake reminds him of his education and the social conventions in Sicily that say the black snakes are harmless, while the golden brown snakes must be killed as they are poisonous. These voices in his head kept repeating and were coaxing him to act like a brave man and kill the snake with a stick. However, the poet admits that he actually liked the snake and feels honored that the snake had come like a guest to his water trough. He's also sure that after drinking water, the snake would return to his home peacefully. Once again, the poet emphasizes the hot weather by stating that the snake would return to the center of the earth or burning bowels where it came from. However, there is a conflict going on in the poet's mind. He wonders whether he is a coward and hence has not dared to kill the snake. He also wonders whether his desire to talk to the snake reflected his unreasonableness. However, he also feels honored that a snake had come to seek his hospitality. The conflict in his mind does not get over with this thought. A thought that he should kill the snake without any fear returns to his mind. It is important to note that he did not instinctively feel the need to kill the snake, but these thoughts came to him due to social norms and expectations that come from society. He also accepts that he was afraid of the snake. However, he clarifies that his fear was secondary to the honor he felt as the snake came to him in search of hospitality. While he was still in his conflicting thoughts, the snake drank water to satisfaction and raised his head dreamily. He flickered his forked black tongue, which seemed as if he was licking his lips after drinking water, to his heart's content. The poet also describes the snake in godly terms and feels that he is self-assured and preoccupied in his own thoughts. Then, the snake, unaware of any presence around him, curved round slowly and began to move away. The phrase, "thrice a dream," emphasizes the preoccupied state of the snake, where he is neither conscious of his surroundings nor afraid of any danger. The snake with much slowness drew its body and climbed the broken bank of wall, moving towards his hole. The snake put his head into the hole and moved with majestic grace to retreat into the hole. Now, the poet is suddenly filled with a protest and is also disgusted to see the snake withdrawing into a horrid hole. Perhaps the voices within him overcome these rational thoughts and feelings. So he put down his pitcher, picked up a log and threw it in the direction of the water trough with a rattling sound. Whether the log hit the snake or not is not clear to him. However, he says that the part of the snake that was still out of the hole twisted and turned violently and then with a lightning pace went into the hole. In fascination, the poet kept on staring at the fissure into which the snake had retreated. The poet immediately regretted his unrefined action and cursed himself as well as the voices of education and civilization that urged him to kill the snake. His act also reminded him of the ancient mariner who had killed the albatross for no reason. He wished that the snake returned, which indicates that the poet is repentant and wanted to see the snake again. During his regretful moments, he thinks of the snake as a king in exile. This could also be a reference to Satan, as he is referred to as a snake or serpent in the Bible. The snake appeared to him as an uncrowned king who is due to be crowned again. Another interpretation of this description is that the poet wants to convey that man has forced a majestic creature like a snake to go into exile, and this creature needs to be provided his rightful place on the planet. He ends the poem on the note of repentance and feels that he has missed an opportunity to understand one of the life forms created by the Lord. As a result, he wishes to amend for his narrow-minded action. Thus, the poem brings out the dilemma in a person's mind, who has to choose between listening to his own voice and listening to social conventions. Such indecisiveness is typically seen in nature by everyone at some moment in their life. In the entire poem, we can see the duality between the poet's education and his inner voice. You must have noticed that there is no specific rhyming pattern in this poem. The poems that adopt this style are called free verse poems. Like many modern lyrics, it incorporates a narrative element and is divided into 19 verse paragraphs or stanzas of unequal length. The poet has used many poetic devices like alliteration, sibilance, onomatopoeia, metaphor, imagery, allusion, anaphora, repetition, simile, and personification to create a vivid picture of his encounter with a snake. Use of alliteration is quite obvious in words burning bowels, peaceful pacified, and dark door, as there is repetition of sound in the first syllables of the two words. The poet also uses sibilance, which is a special form of alliteration where the softer consonants like S, SH, TH, CH, Z, F, X, and soft C are used to create hissing or sibilant sounds. The poet has used sibilance to describe various characteristics of snake, like his shape, his movements, and the sounds made by him. He also uses onomatopoeia very effectively when he uses words that imitate or suggest the source of sound that they are describing. He has also used the dark door as a metaphor for the snake's hole. Imagery has also been used tastefully to create the picture of a snake in the minds of readers when he says, yellow-brown slackness soft-bellied. Since Lawrence provides a passing reference to albatross, we can say that he also uses allusion by referring to the albatross. The poet wants the readers to recall a well-known poem, The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, which describes the emotions of the ancient mariner after he kills the albatross for no reason. Another poetic device used in this poem is anaphora, which is a deliberate repetition of a phrase at the beginning of several successive verses, and slowly, and as he, and I are examples of anaphora used in this poem. Repetition of key words and phrases is often used in free verse poetry as it helps to distinguish free verse from prose. Such repetition is seen in the following words and phrases: hot, must, earth, afraid, slowly, a sort, and like a king. We can also see the following examples of simile where comparison is made between two essentially unlike things. As cattle do, as drinking cattle do, he had come like a guest. As one who has drunken, his tongue like a forked knight, looked around like a god, writhed like lightning, and like a king in exile. Lawrence has also personified the snake and refers to it as he at several instances. Thus, the poet has used various poetic devices to make the description of his encounter with the snake more enjoyable to readers.